So a couple of days ago, Chelsea and I got in this deep discussion. It was about life and death, about how short life is, and about how there are two paths in this life. One path is of the world, and it has all the distractions and all the fleshly desires, and that road ultimately ends in death. And the other path is the spiritual path. It has no distractions, obviously, no fleshly desires, and that is the one that goes on to eternity. And then the question got asked, what is the purpose of this life here on earth? The next day we were talking about how we should have made a video because we had so much like running through us that night, and we felt like we should have shared it with the world, but we did not. And so we got on and we tried to make a video, but the words were not coming out right. The message was not coming across like, I felt like it should. And so it led me to telling Chelsea, I feel like something's not right, and it feels like it's being forced. And if something is being forced, then that is of the flesh. And I was like, if it's coming from spirit and if it's coming from the Lord, it's going to flow and it's going to come naturally. So I was like, something's not right. We can't do this. So we started just jotting down some notes and stuff just to have some little PowerPoints. So if we, wanted to try to make the video again the next day or whatever, we could. And as we're making notes, Tyler had texted and said he was ready to be picked up from work. So she went and grabbed him, and I finished up, doing the notes and everything. And then I got the thought in my head to grab my Bible and to pick up where I left off. So I left off in this dig deeper section in my Bible, and it led me to Galatians 3. So I turn, and it's about 10:30 at night too, and I turn to what I thought was Galatians 3, and I start reading, and I don't get anything. And so Chelsea, comes back home as I'm still reading, and she was like, "Are you ready yet?" And I was like, "No, not yet," because at this point when she came in, I was at the part where it's a prayer for spiritual power. And I was like, well, maybe I need to read this part. So I was like, no, not yet. Let me finish this. So I started reading it, and I didn't get anything. So then I read it one more time because I was like, what is going on? Read it again, still didn't get anything. And I was like, Chelsea, it's just not right. We can't make this video because I don't feel like it's spirit led right now. So she was like, well, maybe we'll just do our testimonies. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. So we did our testimonies, and then we went to sleep. I wake up this morning and I get in my Bible, which is already open to where I thought I was going to be reading from. And I go to read chapter 3, which is what I was supposed to read. And I noticed there's only one part highlighted. And I don't know from when I highlighted this. It could have been months or years ago. I don't know. But the part that was highlighted, it says, "The mystery was made known to me by revelation, as I have briefly written above." And so I was like, okay, what's written above? So I look at chapter 2, and it literally says, "From death to life." And then I notice I'm not in Galatians. I am in Ephesians. And so I was like, oh my goodness. The Lord guided my hands to a whole different book of the Bible, and it's literally covering everything that we just talked about 2 days ago. So then as I'm reading, verses 1 and 2 in Ephesians state, "And you were dead in your trespasses and sins, in which you previously walked according to the ways of this world." I was like, oh my goodness. Then as you continue reading to the end of the chapter, verses 17 through 22 literally answer the question I asked. What is the purpose of this life here on earth? And the end of the chapter tells us we are being built together as a holy dwelling place for God for eternity. The second path, the spiritual path, we're being built together in the spirit, guys. Y'all, can't nobody tell me that God isn't real, because how crazy is it that we are literally sitting here talking about life and death and about paths, and then I go to get in my Bible and my hands guide me to a whole different section of the Bible than I'm supposed to be, and then I get referred up to the chapter before, which happens to be death to life, and talking about walking in the world and then walking in the spirit. Oh my Lord. So the message that me and Chelsea was wanting to try to get across is life is short, and there is a purpose for this life other than fulfilling your fleshly desires. Seriously, Seek Jesus. Ask him to remove the blindfold off of you from this world. And so that way you can see the bigger picture of this life. Because truly, everything in this world will die. Nothing of this world is meant to last for eternity. The only thing that we can take with us is our soul. So when we leave this place, we need to be asking ourselves, is our soul going to stay here in this world and eventually just be separated from God and end in death? Or is our soul going to carry on and be with the Father and our Savior for eternity? I love you, and so does Jesus.